Thank you all very much for being here. My name is Dr. Brandi Stankovic, and Zach, I think I just jumped the gun and you were supposed to introduce me. He's in the back. But that's my style. You guys know my style. Zach?
I don't have a... It's okay. You just didn't want me to have fun with the voice of God concept. That was it.
That's what it is. I just stepped on the voice of God's toes, you guys. Let's hear it up for Zach in the back of the room, the backstage. You have to always give compliment to an individual that can handle strong leaders, especially strong women, like Zach does every day. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for being part of the underground. The underground is where the magic happens. How many of you have been to an underground before? Yes. And how many of you, this is your first time? Woo, look at that, about half and half. Well, you are in for a real treat with the underground. It is a time for us to put our minds together. But I always like to begin every session that I do with a moment of gratitude. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for our business partners and colleagues and friends for making the underground happen. And if you look around the room, there is a star-studded group of individuals in here. And we always do at the underground. But I tell you what, this year, it's kind of intense. I've been fangirling the entire networking session. So thank you to all of you for being here and being a voice of this industry. But in this moment of gratitude, I just stepped off the plane from West Africa, from Ghana. I was at the Saka Congress with the COSCA, and I'm working with them on women in leadership and young professionals. And being in capturing the young professional group in Africa is especially important because the median age of the population in the continent is 19. The median age of the population is 19, right? Versus here in the US, it's the median age is 39. And so when we talk about growth and youth and getting the members and getting the employees involved and engaged in the crayons, it's especially crucial. But every time I travel outside of the country, I come back with this renewed sense of alignment and gratitude and thanks. That if the worst thing I have to deal with today is navigating a crazy casino or brushing off the hangover from all the delicious food and drinks last night, or worried about whether my back's going to make it through sitting in a chair all day, even though I'm in this beautiful hotel listening to brilliant minds, I'd say life is pretty good, right? And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and sharing yourself with us. So please turn to the person next to you and say, thank you for being here. And we need gratitude in the world today because everything seems to be in this place of extremes, right? Everything is urgent, everything is loud, everything is choose a side. And I feel like we almost need to find that change doesn't come from polarization, it comes from intersection. And so today we're going to talk about the collision of contrasts, because movements don't necessarily happen on stage. They happen in garages and in back offices and in kitchens where people really get together and want to make a difference. And so we are in this collision of contrast because the old rules are going to align with the new reality, and tradition is going to partner with innovation. Has anybody ever, I have a question for you guys, has anybody ever in here ever been told that they are too much or too much of something? Yeah, you guys, people that raise their hand are acknowledging it. The rest of you are lying because you definitely have, I'm sure. But maybe you're too assertive, too aggressive, too loud, too sharp, too smart for your own good, right? Turn to the person next to you and fill in this blank. I have been told I am too. Go ahead and share with the person next to you. All right, let's bring it back together. I love some of these. Some of them you were sharing things that you are too much of, and other people at the table were sharing with others what they are too much of. I liked that assertiveness that was happening. But we have a friend in the front who's too hard to please, and I've been told that I am too assertive and too sensitive all at the same time, right? What are some others? Shout them out. Let me hear them. Too sweet. Oh, of course you are, LaTanya. Too sweet. Too strong. What are some others? Too quiet. I doubt that, Sue. I doubt that. But yeah, too quiet or too loud or too assertive or too creative or too all of these things. And today, we aren't here in order to destroy one side or celebrate another. We're going to bring those contradictions together. Oh, you're too intense? Well, perfect. I love that. And I'm glad that you're here and celebrate that, because the future is a remix, and the underground is where we stop hiding contradictions and we start integrating them. My son shared the stage with me this week. We had an underground at the International Contact Center Conference, and we were talking about generational communication. Talk about contradictions, right? So we have the baby boom generation, and I was representing Gen X, and then we have millennials. Zach actually joined us. He was representing millennials, and my son represented Gen Z, and he's 15 years old, right? And we had fun, and we shared our different communication styles, or really, let's be real, our different languages, right? Because we all speak different languages in different generations. But we had some fun. We poked fun at each other. But baby boomers brought the handshake and the eye contact, and Gen X brought efficiency, and millennials brought emotion, and then Gen Z brought performative communication, right, with TikToks and hashtags. But it was an awesome session. We had a lot of fun. And afterwards, my son was having a moment of reflection, and he was thinking about the value of the session. He said something really profound to me. He said that, bro, low key, no cap, it was off the hinge today. Yeah, the vibes are really kicking. And what he meant by that, what that means is, what he actually said to me was that instead of us trying to merge all of our communication styles together, or instead of us trying to model everybody else after one person, we allowed everyone to be. And it was in that contradiction that was created the ultimate connection. And I think that's really profound. It's in the contradiction that we create connection. Think about contradictions that are everywhere in the world today, like with jazz music, right? Jazz music is all improv, but within boundaries. Or welding, the concept of welding. You melt metal in order to make a structure stronger. Or think about love. It's like the ultimate contradiction, right? It's irrational, it's messy, and it's breathtaking all at once. And you think about all these contradictions, and it's in that the creation is made. Nothing meaningful exists without the collision of contradiction. Nothing meaningful exists without the collision of contradiction. So let me tell you something that I've learned across the globe from all sorts of leaders and artists and activists and misfits and dreamers. It's that people who create change are the ones who embrace this contradiction, not try to avoid it. And as you know, I'm raising my children in a pretty wild time in history. Would you agree? How many of you guys have kids? A few of you, your children are in the room. Let me see your hands. I'll make sure that you're on your best behavior. Yep, I'll watch you. But I'm raising two little humans, and what my guy likes to call, oh, what a time to be alive, right? And it's in this time where everybody's in these extremes, and we're also in a culture of labels. We want everything to fit in a certain label. And so these kids are being forced or asked to be a part of these labels. Are they shy? Are they bossy? Are they genius? Are they jock? Are they troublemakers? There's even a lot of medical diagnostic labels like ADHD, anxiety, autism, allergies. And they're told to pick a sport and pick a lane, honors or special needs, athlete or artist, scholar or class clown. Brand yourself by the age of 12. Know what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And this week I had a conversation with one of my kids because he's trying to navigate his way through that. And I talked to him about the fact that you're allowed to be thoughtful and fast. You're allowed to be loud and kind. You can be the hurricane and be the structure of the harbor. You don't have to label in order to fit in, right? And we will build a life where your contradictions can breathe. And it's easier said than done, because parenting, I've learned, is not engineering a product to fit on the shelf. It's about shielding the fire until they can create their own wind. And I think this collision of contrasts is such an important time right now. So why do we dim our contrasts in order to make other people feel comfortable? What if instead contrast is the point? I can be soft and strong. I can be grounded and wild, spiritual and savage. I can build a business and paint a mural, or show up in stilettos or Doc Martens, right? Because I am the collision. I don't have to be one thing. I can be that contrast. So one more example for you. I was listening to the podcast by Joe Rogan. I know I consume all sorts of different kind of media, but he has a guest, Andrew Schultz, that was on with him, and they were talking about Neanderthals, about the cavemen. And he was saying that we've been fed as a society a story about Neanderthals as if they were like cartoons. They're dumb and they're primitive, and kind of like that us as these sleek Wi-Fi beings are much more smart and well and improved. And he was kind of showing some research that maybe combats that a little bit. And that is that their brains were bigger, that their bones were denser, they had tools and art and language, and that their eye sockets were even larger. They maybe even had night vision that they could see in the dark. And Rogan said something that stuck with me, and I'll read it to you. Maybe being a little weaker is what made us smarter. Sit in that for a second. Maybe being a little weaker is what made us smarter. Maybe what we call weakness might be adaptation. Or maybe what we call strength is actually a dead end. Maybe evolution didn't reward the loudest or the strongest. It rewarded the ones who cooperate, communicate, and come together. And that is the underground message. Progress isn't about erasing what came before. It's about integrating. Instinct and intellect together, grit and grace together, ego and empathy and edge all together. So let's define change differently. Change, from my perspective, is when history and possibility stop fighting and start architecting. So show up today with your contradictions. Don't hide them. Don't sanitize them. Yeah, you are too strong and too smart and too creative and too bossy and too much and too emotional and all of these things. And that's exactly why you were invited. So at the underground, I want you to utilize this. The underground is where we meet in that truth, where the rebels and the scholars shake hands, where the sacred and the rowdy sit together at the same table. So you guys can kind of point at each other. You're the sacred one, you're the rowdy one. But don't pick a lane today. Be the junction where toughness and tenderness trade tools, right? Where the past and the future agree to build something productive. We are the contrast. We are the collision. And this is the underground.